Private debt and public delusion, why the real crisis hides in plain sight. 1. The Great Debt Misdirection. Governments love to talk about their own debt, it's their favorite horror story. Every headline screams about ballooning deficits, as if the national debt were a monster under the economic bed. But here's the plot twist: private debt is the real villain. In the United States, before the 2008 crash, private debt sat at a towering 170% of GDP while government debt was a modest 60%. Yet, somehow, only one of these keeps economists awake at night. So what does that actually mean? It means we've been watching the wrong fire while the real blaze rages out of sight. Footnote. This section identifies the public narrative that exaggerates government debt while ignoring the more destabilizing impact of private debt. 2. The exploding economy problem. When private borrowing turns into private panic, economies blow up. Before 2008, credit was rising fast, 15% of GDP at its peak. Then it went into reverse, falling to -5% by 2009. That's when the global financial crisis hit, not because of government mismanagement, but because households and corporations went from borrowing to repaying. When spending collapses, everything else follows. So what does that actually mean? It means economic booms built on private credit are like fireworks, beautiful for a moment, catastrophic when the fuse runs out. Footnote. This section explains how contractions in private credit, not government debt, trigger systemic recessions. 3. Irving Fisher's forgotten lesson. The first to see this clearly wasn't Keynes, but Irving Fisher. Yes, the same Fisher who confidently declared in 1929 that stock prices had reached a permanently high plateau. Oops. But credit where due, after losing his fortune, he learned the hard way that capitalism doesn't rest in equilibrium, it wobbles like a seesaw. Fisher argued that debt and deflation, not laziness or moral failure, cause depressions. He was right. Economies are never perfectly balanced because humans aren't perfectly rational. So what does that actually mean? The Atlantic Ocean will never be without a wave, and neither will capitalism. Footnote. This section revisits Fisher's debt deflation theory, emphasizing its realism over neoclassical equilibrium assumptions. 4. Bernanke and the blindfold. Fast forward to Ben Bernanke, the man who marketed himself as the Great Depression expert. He wasn't. He was the Great Denial expert. Bernanke dismissed Fisher's work, arguing that debt crises merely redistribute wealth from debtors to creditors, as if that were an even trade. It's not. Banks don't recycle money, they create it. When lending stops, spending collapses. So what does that actually mean? It means calling debt a redistribution is like calling an earthquake a landscape adjustment. Footnote. This section critiques Bernanke's neoclassical framework, exposing its flawed assumptions about money creation and credit cycles. 5. Quantitative easing, the wrong prescription. After the crash, Bernanke turned to quantitative easing, K. His logic? Give banks excess cash so they'll lend more. The problem? Banks don't lend reserves, they lend when they find creditworthy borrowers. K inflated asset prices, not paychecks. Stocks soared, housing costs exploded, and inequality reached record highs. So what does that actually mean? It means the patient was bleeding, and the doctor prescribed Botox. Footnote. This section explains how K worsened inequality by inflating financial assets rather than stimulating productive lending. 6. The modern debt trap. Private debt today remains alarmingly high, barely down 15% since 2007. The result? Stagnant demand, inflated markets, and a generation priced out of homeownership. Wealthy investors cheer rising valuations, while young families can't even buy in. The same medicine that once caused the disease, more credit, is now being offered as the cure. So what does that actually mean? It means the economy is on a treadmill powered by credit cards. Stop running, and you fall. Footnote. This section describes how persistent private debt levels trap economies in cycles of weak growth and asset inflation. 7. The Jubilee Solution. So how do we escape? With a modern debt jubilee, a clean slate for households, not just banks. The government could use its money creation power to give every working-age adult around $100,000. Those with debt must pay it down, those without must buy Jubilee bonds, generating income instead. No inflation, no favoritism, just balance. Elon Musk and a single parent would both get the same amount. So what does that actually mean? It means fairness with math, not moralizing with misery. Footnote. This section outlines a proposed modern debt jubilee designed to reduce private debt and restore balance without penalizing savers. 8. The moral of the debt story. History keeps repeating because economists keep ignoring their own textbooks. The Great Depression taught us debt kills economies, not deficits. The Great Recession proved it again. Yet policymakers still worship models that treat money like a static pool instead of a river that flows, or floods. Until we stop mistaking theory for truth, we'll keep mopping up the same mess. So what does that actually mean? It means we don't need smarter slogans, we need fewer blindfolds. Footnote. This section concludes that systemic financial reform requires abandoning neoclassical dogma in favor of empirical understanding of private credit dynamics.